Okay, hi. Let's see if we're live. Let me make sure this thing is on. Okay. I am still so new to this. I just got to make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Let's see. Oh, okay, we are live. We are live. Let me listen to hi. Okay, so all right, we've got the people coming in. So I'm gonna give it like a minute or two before I kind of start talking. And I have like a video that I want to show you all. I made a post about it yesterday, or I think a day before, about this like social experiment I saw on Dr. Daft's show. And I just thought this would just be such a good conversation starter. So I'm just gonna give it like maybe 2, 3 minutes. Okay, maybe not 2, 3, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes. Let people just kind of come in. I'm already kind of late. I was supposed to do this at 8, but oh my goodness, let me tell you, work has just had me running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So, I am finally here though, and I just kind of want to let people come on in. Let's see. Oh, Justice. Justice for the Alpha says 622 says it's on. I know, I'm sorry. I'm like 30 minutes late. I've actually got this layout that I want to show for you all too that I'm working on. I'm gonna try and see what it looks like, but we'll see what happens. Hi Kevon. We've got some regulars in here. We've got Justice, we've got Kevon. Okay, Ellie. This is my first time seeing Ellie and Milk Cat Dog 333. How are you all? I am demoralized by the lies of this world. Same. This world kind of sucks. But that's why we have each other. Before we get started, though, I thought it would be really interesting to hear what you all are doing for Black History Month. And before I know you all say that you aren't doing anything, let's actually, maybe put in some effort this month. The state of the country is kind of in shambles. They're basically trying to rewrite history and whitewash basically everything that happened on the plantation. So this would be a great opportunity to try and like immerse ourselves in to the history of what it was to be or what it is to be a Black American. I'm really excited because I'm going to make a video very shortly for you all, just kind of going over like some of the people that or that really inspire me throughout Black history, and maybe just kind of going over like the basic events of what happened through Black history as well. So I'm really excited about that. So um, Justice says, what is there to do? Oh, Lord, there's so much to do. Yes, happy Black History Month, Eli. All right, so I gave them more than enough time to come on in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and see how this goes. I want to see what you all think. I've got this new layout that I'm trying, and I want to try and see if it works. So let's see, 1 second. I'm sorry, this is my second stream ever, so please don't judge me. Okay, so the screen is blank, so I need to do it again. 1 second. I started practicing on these new layouts for you all because I kind of want to like spice it up. And I'm working on it. This is my first one, so I'm pretty satisfied with it. All right. So a big part of why I wanted to kind of discuss this is it popped up on my timeline the other day, and I was instantly drawn to it. I think that it was such a great reflection of kind of what happens in these conversations when it comes to this, like basically how we navigate our lives as either Black, white, or biracial. I think that we can beat these conversations like a dead horse, but sometimes it's so much easier when you're able to actually, just kind of witness these interactions happen amongst the groups in real time. And that's why I just really was drawn to this. And I thought it was just a great conversation starter. So, let's see what happens. And okay, I'll say this one more thing, and then I promise I'm going to get started. I just want to give people enough time to like come in. I'm already late, and it's super late, so I doubt a lot of people are going to come in. But I was super hesitant to do this, but I'm not going to lie. The reception from you all was just so incredible. That video, or my last live stream that I did, got like 300 to 400 hours of watch time. So, I mean, I was completely blown away. I had so many nerves, and I still am a little bit anxious, but like, to see people have such a positive reaction was really, really, it just was really heartwarming, and I just need to get a little bit more confident about doing these things. It's just challenging, trying to do all of this stuff and talk at the same time, but I'm working on it. So anyways, let's go ahead. We've got some people in here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, thank you. Kevon says, I like the layout. It's cute. Eli says it's cute as well. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to first play a little clip just so you all can get an understanding why I thought this was like such a funny, yeah, I'm going to play you all a fun little clip because I'm like, I want to draw you all in. So I want you all to see what brought me here in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do it again. It's a lot.
No, but it's same, basically. So in my experience, my first boyfriend was Korean. And I think with that, yes, I grew up with both my mother and my father, but I did more so grow up on the white side of my family. And it wasn't until I had my first boyfriend, I realized culturally how I was raised. With my mom and my dad, black or white, we talk back to each other. We talk shit at each other. I did not know until my first boyfriend, culturally, that is not the case for someone who's Asian. Culturally, that's not the case for someone who's Latino or Persian. Been there, done that. And I learned that very quickly. So I would say I'm so open to interracial dating. However, the family dynamic comes into play. And I can't be with a man, again, who in a situation knows his family's 100% in the wrong and disrespectful, and he won't stand up to them because in his culture, elders are always right. So it really depends on the family dynamic. I think I'd rather be with someone who's biracial like me because they would have had that mixed experience of not feeling like just one race or the other or being raised one way or another. They have that mixed experience. And then also, I'm 25, I'm about to be 26. Black men were not interested in me until this year. Black men always told me I was too whitewashed. So it's not that I wasn't interested. In my experience, dating black is where I was judged the most.
Oh, Lord.
I have a question for you. Which one of your parents is African American?
My dad.
Okay, I can kind of tell by the way.
I was like, who are you talking about too? I feel
like your ideology could really only come like in the way it came if you have like a mother that's not of color, because like in all aspects of like being of color, you don't talk back to
That's what I was saying.
But
that's why I also think my experience is interesting because my dad is full black, and that's how we to this day talk to each other. We do it with respect, but I am going to argue.
Right, but I'm saying for mothers, a black mother is not going to let you disrespect her. Period.
It really differentiates if you're like born from the womb of like a woman of color or not. Like it really sets your aspect of like who you are and like how you're treated and like the upbringings, because like you can tell when somebody's upbrought by a black woman.
But that's also why I said in my experience, that's why I've had a discrepancy because of how I was raised. I feel like I don't like the comment. I'm gonna be so honest. You were like, oh, I can tell that your mom's white. But it's a little rude. We're both biracial because you said it with the intent of like, you said it in a negative way. I do think that came from a place of negativity.
It wasn't negativity. It's more so like, why would you want to disrespect your elders?
I didn't say disrespect necessarily, but I said talk back at each other.
Right, the talk back.
Right.
And I can see how that could seem offensive. Like, and we were actually talking about this out there. I think I asked you, or no, you asked me, and then we said, there is that debate around biracial, and if the mother is white, it's different than if the mother is black, as far as how the child or how the person values different things.
But I will say this is a perfect example of how I just said it's always the black community that judges me the most, and you guys.
But you're taking it as judgment. We're saying
that is how it felt. I don't think.
I can't tell you how to feel. I'm just saying that from my experience, and also having girlfriends that are biracial, that have mothers that are white and fathers that are black, or mothers that are white and fathers that are African, right? There's different experiences. But I will say most of the time what I do see is a very different approach when it comes to core values, family dynamics, and especially when it comes to respect of elders. That's all. I'm not saying it's better or worse.
So there's a reason why I decided to play that because, I've just been still thinking about the last video that I made, and I'm not sure if you all have had the opportunity to watch my video on Caleb Jackson 00, but it basically was a video around Black people basically being like the most judgmental and like the most harsh and like, the hardest community to be in, despite, in my opinion, every form of evidence saying otherwise. And, when I saw this video, it just immediately it struck like in my mind, like that moment. And I definitely want to play that clip of Caleb Jackson again, but this is what drew me in. And I really wanted you all to just kind of like get a little bit of an idea of what we were talking about, because I think that so many times we have this idea that everybody is just on the same wavelength when it comes to socialization. And we even with amongst this video, you're going to see such a stark difference amongst the white, the biracial, and the Black people. And they go over just like a lot of really, really interesting themes that I think are relevant to the Black community. So I just thought, you know what, I have nothing else going on, and why not just kind of go ahead and dissect these things with you all. Should I, before we keep going, should I make this larger? Should I like just make the video larger? Or do we like the background? Like, what do we think? Yeah, Kayvon says she's a white mom, biracial. I think I will say this, like, I think it's really interesting how she took the comment, because, I understand, like, I can understand why someone would be offended by it, and I'm definitely going to go over it in detail. But it's like, the fact that she didn't understand what she meant by it is really kind of telling. And I think that it really just kind of explains to the different level of socialization, because there was just a blind spot that just happened within that conversation. Like, she didn't understand what she meant by, how a Black mom and how a white mom operate differently. She has this idea in her head that, they're the exact same. And I think that was really where she kind of told on herself. And it was just, I'm not going to go too heavy into it. I really want to dissect that a little bit in a minute. But, I just thought that whole moment was just kind of interesting. And it definitely caught my attention. It had the timeline speaking. And, I want to just go over all that. But so someone says, I'm as Black as can be. I do have offensive questions about Black people's words versus actions. Very interesting. I agree. Said one half Black History Month at Diana Ross. Lord, I know. Okay, so anyways, let's get started. I know I've literally taken forever. I tried to give people enough time to get in. We're not watching the entire video. I want to go ahead and alert you of that. We're probably only going to watch like maybe 20, 30 minutes at max. Maybe, and like I said, 30 minutes max. But I just thought there was a lot of interesting themes that have kind of came in here. So before I get started, I want to go ahead and talk about the person's page that I'm reacting to. So I actually just kind of like got hooked on this lady by the name of Dr. Daff. She has these really good like panels where she has like full, like, maybe like 8 to 9 people, and it's like more or less social experiments where they have conversations. And I'll be honest, like, I've been really turned off from like podcasts and things like that, but I will say that her content is just so organic, and like I love that like the back and forths aren't toxic. Like, you can learn a lot through these interactions. Oops, sorry, let me try and go back up. She's a great channel to follow, so if you're interested in what you see, I definitely suggest looking at her stuff, because she's a great content creator. And, this is definitely something that I want to do as well. I want to have people come on my channel and maybe do like a panel or something where we just kind of go over different topics or whatever. So, but, I just wanted to go ahead and give her a shout out before we started really watching, because, we are going to watch a little bit of her content. So anyways, let's see. Let's get started. I just want to go ahead and play a little bit of the beginning, and then we're going to kind of like work our way through some of the parts that I thought were interesting.
I have had to code switch depending on who I'm around.
Obviously not code switch.
What does that mean?
Right. You haven't had to. If you don't know what it means, you haven't had to. Code switching. So code switching is basically when you are in certain environments, you have to shift the way you speak in order to be safe, really, in those environments. I particularly find it for myself, for my mother, for other Black women that I know, when it's predominantly white environments, there's certain things that you all wouldn't necessarily be able to understand based on what I'm speaking about. And also, in order to get to certain levels, right, like if we think of PWIs, private white institutions, which I went to at Duke University, I would have to code switch depending on where I was at in order to be taken seriously, in order to be respected, in order to be, received.
I feel like
Okay, so I'm not gonna keep pausing, but I do kind of want to like try and respond to some of the things they're saying. And one thing right off the bat that really irked me about this is very indicative of how these conversations tend to go. Like right off the bat, within us having this conversation, this white woman is asking, "What is this?" And I'm like, okay, so you signed up to be a part of this conversation, and you already don't even know the basics of like something like code switching. And it's like I think it speaks to her ignorance, and then obviously, kind of like she said, it speaks to her privilege. But I think another thing as well that really just kind of irked me is in that moment she immediately went to educate her, and it's like, why are you educating her? Like, what is happening here? Like, for me personally, I'm not here to educate you. Like, if you're going to sign up to be in these spaces, you need to know what you're talking about. And it's just really irritating how, I mean, even within, you're going to see within this, like, dynamic, they're constantly having to try and educate the white women. And it's just like, okay, why are you here? Like, we couldn't get a better batch of people. And I'm not going to sit here and say all of them are horrible because some of them, like, have a general understanding of, like, things. But it's just like, okay, why am I sitting here having to educate you in this conversation? So it's just irritating. And, like, that was one of the first, like, things that really just kind of irked me. And I just felt like it was really important to bring up because I think it's very reflective of how this happens in society. Let me read the comments. Love and Lilac says, all the other women said was, I can tell. I think she felt called out and used that moment to give herself confirmation bias. I agree. I think that she was waiting for any and like every little interaction for her to have with someone black for her to be like, well, hey, like, this is what I'm talking about, or X, Y, and Z. And, and it's like, I totally agree with you. I think that was like a very spot on comment. They do this all the time. Hey Kento, how are you? It's good to see you here. I didn't see you on the last one. Um, let's see. Milk Cat Dog, the streamer. Let's see. Justice for the Alpha says, do you think that we either need full segregation or full assimilation? Let me show the comments too while I'm here. I keep forgetting that I have my layout. Again, how cute is this? Yeah, so you all can kind of see the comments. I really did work hard on it, so hopefully you all like it. It's a rough draft, so I mean, don't judge me, but I don't know. That is a great question. For me, I would be totally open for segregation, but I know the chronic swirlers would absolutely lose their shit. So I don't know how that would work. I definitely do think that Black people do need to start working on, especially now more than ever, trying to build communities with each other. I just think that right now we're going to just see more and more Black people being disenfranchised, whether it's in the job market, whether it's in schooling, whether it's incarceration. We're going into an administration that is very violent and very racist. So I definitely am all for separating. I'm living in a very populated Black area, so that's already great for me. But I don't know. I don't really see that being a possibility. So I don't know. But again, I'm happy with segregation if we have to. Let me keep going.
Same. I've had to code switch even with those close to me, like my family. Like when I'm with like my white side, I feel like I can't act a certain way, or I'd be like considered too ghetto. Or when I'm with my Black side, I can't act a little too big, so I'm a little whitewashed. It's like I've code switched around the public, the close ones, my teachers, really everybody.
For sure. Like when I first became a realtor, I realized that like I really want to be taken seriously as a businesswoman, and I definitely felt like I needed not just like code switching the way that I speak and behave, but seriously, like I used to wear my afro all the time, and so it was like time straightening my hair like every day to make sure they know that I'm very professional, So.
Yeah, my husband's biracial actually, so I learned about code switching by kind of watching him with his family versus coming over.
Let me stop there because I don't want to lose my point, and I promise I'm not going to just keep like going on tangents, but I do want to just bring this other point up. I think that she makes a really great point, and this kind of gets brought up a little bit later, is that people really don't understand how much of a privilege it is to not have to think about these things. You know, you're always having to think about what you're wearing from a hair perspective. You're having to think about what you're wearing from a clothing perspective. You're having to think about so many different aspects when it comes to how you show up in society. Whereas this white woman over here, she gets to be, you know, little Miss Plain Jane. You know, she can walk into any room and be received the exact same way. Whereas, you know, someone black, if she did decide to wear an afro, or if she did decide to express herself in an, you know, Afrocentric way, you know, she's going to be received a lot differently. And I think that it's just really interesting. We don't really think about how much of a privilege, again, that it is to not have to code switch, and how much this is kind of like ingrained into a lot of Black people's minds.
And spending time with my exceptionally white family, like very white Protestant, it was very much like a learning of being like, oh, this is something I've like I feel like when a lot of white people try to be like, yeah, I code switch, it's like we have to say like less edgy jokes around certain white people, but like just watching my husband like interface between like my family and his family, I was like, oh dang, like that is like a whole other thing that just like I don't think most white people who grew up in like white exclusive spaces can understand.
I think there's something to be said about that, because I actually put yes for this, and I don't think, depending on how you define code switching, technically yes. In other cases, obviously not in the same way that you ladies have experienced and had to. But if you define it loosely and it's just like changing your demeanor or your, what's the word for it?
Vernacular?
No, not necessarily. Like your, just the way that you carry yourself, basically. In academic settings, definitely a little bit different from the way that, you know, I carry myself around my very Southern family, who is very like loose with the way that they speak, and they're not super precise about things, and that's just like the culture that is there. But if you're talking about like specifically in racial scenarios to protect yourself, that's something that I've never had to do, and I don't think like white people generally will ever have to do.
I was actually going to say that like it's become kind of the opposite for me, because I grew up like around a lot of white people. It was like I was literally like the only Black kid in my class, a black girl, and it was like a Black boy. And so probably around middle school, that's when like a lot of like the Black families moved to the suburbs of where I lived, and they kind of like would talk about the way I would talk, and they were like, why are you talking like a white girl? Why are you talking about like a white girl? And I would look at them like, what? Like, what are y'all talking about? And I would go home and I would cry, and my mom would be like, you're just educated. Like, you just talk like, you know, like you can read. You know what I'm saying? And I would be like, but they can read too. Like, you know, what even is that? You know? And so it's kind of funny how like if I am around like white people or people that aren't Black, I kind of tend to talk more like urban. You know what I mean? I kind of want to be more Black when I'm around white people. You know what I mean? And like, I feel more comfortable that way. But then when I get around Black people, I kind of turn into my little self again, because I know that they can see through me. You know what I mean? They'll be like, girl, you just learned how to talk like that. Like, nah. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of the opposite for me. It's a little weird.
I always think it's really
You know, I can't speak for every single person, but you know, it's really funny because as I've learned after making this YouTube that apparently I sound whitewashed, and it's really interesting to hear her say that, because I actually do think that this is a very real thing. A lot of people do have a tendency to want to perform Blackness, especially when they're nervous or, you know, and this is not just exclusive for Black people. There's obviously a lot of white people or a lot of non-Black people who try to put on a persona a lot of the time to try and fit in. And I don't necessarily know, well, I guess that would be code switching to some extent. I don't know. Maybe there's another word for it, but I do think that she makes an interesting point, is that in some situations, whether you are white or Black, in the presence of other Black people, you will sometimes see them try and, you know, put in a little bit of, you know, something into their accent, or, you know, they'll try to put on certain mannerisms. And I do think that that is an interesting point that I never really thought about originally. Let's see. Okay, no comments. Well, I guess nobody wants to talk to me. Should we get straight to the juicy drama then, if we're not finding that interesting, or what should we do? What are we thinking? How are we feeling? I'm gonna keep going, but I want to hear what you all think.
You're so smart now. Like, no, like I'm smart. I was smart when I was in Chicago and look and sound educated. You know, because I was in Chicago, and that's no shade to your mom, but I think that's the way that we are white people.
Lord.
Because I know that they can see through me. You know what I mean? They'll be like, girl, you just learned how to talk like that. Like, nah. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of the opposite for me. It's a little weird.
I always think it's really interesting that like speaking proper or like white people is equated with like being educated and being smart. I always hated that. I couldn't stand it. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like And that's no shade to your mom, but I think that's the way that we are all like brought up to think about it. You know what I mean? Like, but I can't stand that idea because I have family in Mississippi who speak a certain way. I come from Chicago originally. When I was in Chicago, I spoke very differently than I did when I moved to Wisconsin. Because I was in Chicago, I was only around black people. I moved to Wisconsin, I was surrounded by white people. I was like, what is this? You know, and it's like, oh, I got to learn how to talk like them. You know, and in my mind, I really thought I had to speak this way so that I can look and sound educated. You know what I mean? And when I go back around my family in Chicago, it's like, gosh, you talk so white. You know, it's like, oh, she must be so smart now. Like, no, like I'm smart. I was smart when I was in Chicago. I was smart in Wisconsin. I'm smart when I go to Mississippi. You know, my dad from Mississippi is smart. You know, he graduated too. I just think it's like really whack that we like equate the way somebody speaks with education or lack of education.
I agree.
I want to respond to Love and Lilac. I personally don't care if a black person has a more suburban speech pattern. Just don't move funny, LMAO. I agree. And, you know, it's so funny because one of the people in here, I think this girl over here, I think she says this, the one on the right, which we will definitely get to because she does the most in the video. She gets a little bit extra a little bit later. But it's really funny because one of the most like common things that I've heard a lot of like really whitewashed black people say is that they were bullied because of how they spoke. And for me, I don't know. And again, I know that the world doesn't revolve around me. And my experience is purely anecdotal, but I have never in my experience been bullied because of the way that I've sounded. You know, and I've lived in very, very, you know, I will say questionable areas at times, like where it just was not a great place to live. So for me, I'm like, I don't know, maybe again, I was lucky, but I just never had that experience growing up. And I don't think it ever put a target on my back, but you will definitely hear a lot of whitewashed people say that. Kanto says, I'm good. Do you think the biracials in the community need to be in community with one another exclusively? You know, I definitely do think that they need to spend a little bit more time with each other and really, really get to know each other, like on a deeper level, because I just feel like right now, like even within this interaction, you're going to see like there's a huge disconnect between the three of these people. And I don't know, like I feel like if they were to really, really kind of like start having more conversations with each other, a lot of the issues regarding like the identity crisis that we tend to see would be resolved. But it's hard to say. I think right now, there does need to be more emphasis on a biracial community, biracial or multiracial community, because there are so many biracial and multiracial people, you know, that are on this planet. And it's just like, why not try to make your own community at this point? I think, you know, for a long time they were lumped in with obviously black people because of the way, you know, the one drop rule was designed. But now it's like, for me, I don't know, again, I don't know how everyone else feels, but if I was a biracial person, I most definitely would probably prioritize other biracial people. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Let me keep going because I want to get to the part where they start going back and forth because it does get very juicy. But I just kind of want to give you an introduction to the people so you can just get an understanding of like how it leads up to the back and forth. I promise we're almost to the good part.
And I've experienced what both you all are speaking about too around my black folk, right? They're like, oh, she's the white girl. Look at her. She thinks she's so smart or what have you. And it's very frustrating because it just shows the roots of all of it are still rooted in this, you know, white supremacy. I hate that damn term, but white supremacy around like, for us to even be like, oh, I have to talk black. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? And all of us that come from black families, there's different dialects with it, even in our vernacular. And it actually takes a lot of brilliance to be able to code switch and have different dialects, right? Depending on where you're at. So I think we experience it not only in predominantly white environments, but also around our own folk. And then we dig deeper and it's like, oh, this is still around the roots of white supremacy of what is acceptable or not, what is considered worthy or not. And yeah, it's very problematic and frustrating.
Yeah, my mom is Southern, and it's so funny that like the way she is, that like, you were like, no shade, but I was like, yeah, no, total shade, because I will always be like, Mom, like that sounds kind of crazy too. Like, yeah, I know you're trying to make me feel better, but like that sounds crazy too. And then I started to like watch like more reality shows and watch like the I don't know, 1,000 Pound Sisters for example. And I'm like, wait a second, they kind of talking. black, huh? I'm like, so that's not a thing. They're just Southern. I was like, so basically the slaves was just listening to them talk, you know what I mean? And their English was broken because they was from England. So it's all like, it all goes back to something, and we're just perpetuating something and putting on like this tradition of, oh, that's what that means, when it really just means like everybody's English was broken because we're not even, you know what I mean? Like the way we're talking is like we were supposed to be talking English and English accents, you know what I mean? And it started to get crazy once they moved, and you know, all that stuff happened. So it's just really weird how we like try to say like, oh, it's talking white, when it's not even that. Like it's literally white people that talk like black people too in the South. So it's just really weird to me how we do that.
I'm not gonna lie to you all. I'm trying to walk with her. I really am, but sometimes I get so lost in her points. So I'm not going to piggyback off what she said because that didn't really make any sense to me, truthfully. Maybe we should just get. Well, okay. I promise we're almost done, and then we're going to get to the fun part. Okay.
What?
I
Excuse me. What you were saying,
earlier.
For me, so growing up as a biracial black woman, I did grow up going to white private schools. College, I went to Chapman University. I could count the black people on my hand, like honestly. But with that, the number one compliment I've always gotten is how articulate I am. And people are shocked at how articulate I am. Mind you, I was a communications major, strategic corporate communications, mind you. So yes, maybe I'm a little more quote unquote articulate than most because that was my degree. I got this my whole life, growing up, middle school, high school, before I even got my degree, before I even started my degree. And it sucks that being black is not synonymous with being educated in a lot of people's eyes. Or they'll see that I'm biracial and they're like, oh, did you grow up on the white side of your family? That's why you talk like that. I grew up on both sides, actually. So it's just interesting to see, even the black side of my family will say that as well. But like you said, like, oh, you talk like a white girl. I'm articulate, regardless of the shade. And like you said, there's white people who talk ghetto. Like, seriously, it's not about talking white or black. It's where you're from, who you grew up with.
I think piggybacking off of that, I think it's really important for like white people to educate themselves on this thing because it is something that is important. And there's a quote, I took sociology classes in high school because that was my minor. And we learned about this particular sociologist who came up with the term the iconic ghetto because like no matter, and this seems like what you're speaking on is like no matter how educated.
Okay, you know what? We're not gonna, we've gotten through a good amount, so I want to get to the part where it just gets really spicy and kind of argumentative, because this is really the core part of why I wanted to talk about this. But I wanted you to have a general understanding of like the introduction to all of them, and just like so you can have an understanding, because it was important to kind of like just get to hear from a good portion of them before you kind of see what builds up to all of this. Let me go ahead and read. She says, yeah, I agree. She makes zero sense. I have absolutely no idea what she was talking about. And I'm not going to lie to you all. We're probably about to start skipping what she says for time's sake, because like I've watched this twice now and I can like guarantee you she makes absolutely no sense at all. She says, not that I'm condoning this, but I feel like sometimes the "you talk white" insult is almost a trauma response to when black bourgeois can be elitist, like an insult, I'll insult you first kind of thing. I definitely agree. It's like weird for me. Like, I don't know how to really take that seriously. I've heard people say it to me, but it's like, I feel like it's definitely rooted in anti-intellectualism, and I think that is a bigger conversation that's happening within the Black community. Because as ridiculous as it sounds, I definitely have heard and seen plenty of scenarios where people who are educated are talked down to. I remember I was in a space and there was this doctor, and this man was like, "You think you're so smart because you have all these degrees," and he was like calling her the B word and all these other things. And so I think it's definitely rooted in anti-intellectualism when they say you try, or like you talk white. So I definitely agree. I think it's that kind of insult. I don't know if that was what you meant, but it is definitely an issue that's happening within our community. He said, we do a disservice to reality by lying about facts. She says, I think that we need to start generalizing. I definitely do think that, we're going to talk a little bit about generalizing in a minute. I'm going to play the juicy part because now that we kind of got the introduction out the way, I want you all to kind of see why I'm really like here to talk about this.
Argument with a brother. That's all. I thought it was entertaining.
Okay.
Hit you, man. We're taking him in for argument with a brother. That's all. I thought
everybody outside my race.
Okay.
Argument with a brother. That's all. I thought it was an entertaining story.
Here we go.
I would date someone from the other groups.
Why don't we start with you since you're the only one who has disagreed? You.
Oh, me? I'm the only one who said disagree? Well.
What you gonna say?
Well, for one, I'm married. But even before I was married, I just was never interested. I wasn't attracted to anybody outside my race. But I got married when I was 20. So, even in my day now, not that I can look at a white man, Asian man, or whatever and say, oh, he's handsome. Yeah, he's handsome. But they don't make my kettle boil, like a black man does. So it's not that I don't have anything against anybody else. Like, yeah, he's handsome, he got muscles, he hot, whatever. But he ain't finna boil my kettle like, to me, what a chocolate man does for me. You know what I mean? And maybe it just comes back to, like, seeing my father, tall, black, handsome man. Maybe I just wanted something that reflected what I saw of the greatness of my father. I'm not sure if that's all it is or if it's something more or not. But I just never have been attracted to anybody outside my race. Even when I was a little kid, you play spin the bottle, I'm hoping to kiss the black guy over there, not the white ones over there, And I don't know, it could be the way I was raised, grew up around all black people. Maybe it seemed scary to me in a way, I'll be honest. There were moments where I thought like, oh gosh, if I have to kiss the white boy over there, I think it seemed scary to me, even though that was my friend. I love this dude, he's my homie, but the idea of kissing him, for some reason, felt strange. So I really don't know, but they definitely.
It's so interesting, and again, this is why I kind of decided to title like the socialization of different ethnicities. Or what did I put in here? I think I put that because it's so interesting. Because I think when you compare black women and black men in particular, like this is like night and day, and to see her really like reserve herself is almost like borderline non-existent within the black community. And I'm not sitting here saying that there aren't obviously like some black men who reserve themselves, but to hear some like let's just be 100% honest about it. It's very uncommon for you to come online and hear someone who is a black man say that he reserves himself predominantly for for black women. And again, I'm not sitting here saying that I don't hear this. I don't want to sit here and perpetuate stereotypes, but I think it really just, again, speaks to socialization, because I think that a lot of black women are very race loyal. And it's just so funny to hear her say that, because it's like when you hear or when you see these kind of conversations and you hear them, talk about being afraid to dating outside of their race, I think that is indicative of how a lot of them are socialized to prioritize a lot of black men and their relationships. Before we, here's the thing, we got to get to the part where they start going back and forth, because I really, okay, we're going to get to
a
friend. I realized culturally how I was.
Yeah, so here's the part that we played a little bit earlier, like the sneak peek, and it's kind of like the catalyst for what we're gonna be talking about. Wood Dweller says, hey y'all, hey, how are you? Hope everything is going good.
And both of them, the reasons why things ended were around them not.
Woodweller says, yeah, black women are definitely race loyal. They are truly race loyal. I agree. Let me tell you, I have never seen a group as loyal as black women have been to black men. And it's almost like, I love that about them. But then I'm also like, wow, I don't know, the way they get treated sometimes, I have to really give it to them. Let's see, it says a certain class of black women are race loyal. And when they are lucky to have not been jilted or rejected by black men, that woman got married at 20. Who got married at 20? Who got married at 20? Let me see. Oh, Kyle Holman says, 1982. Hey, hey, how are you? I hope everything's going well. Hope you're enjoying your Black History Month.
Doing their own work, or really being able to get to a place, because they don't live it, right, of being able to understand the complexities of what it is to be a person of color in this particular country, especially. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd do it again. It's a lot.
No, but it's same, basically. So in my experience, my first boyfriend was Korean, and I think with that, I grew up with both my mother and my father, but I did more so grow up on the white side of my family. And it wasn't until I had my first boyfriend, I realized culturally how I was raised. With my mom and my dad, black or white, we talk back to each other. We talk shit at each other. I did not know until my first boyfriend, culturally, that is not the case for someone who's Asian. Culturally, that's not the case for someone who's Latino or Persian. Been there, done that. And I learned that very quickly. So I would say I'm so open to interracial dating. However, the family dynamic comes into play, and I can't be with a man, again, who in a situation knows his family's 100% in the wrong and disrespectful, and he won't stand up to them, because in his culture, elders are always right. So it really depends on the family dynamic. I think I'd rather be with someone who's biracial like me because they would have had that mixed experience of not feeling like just one race or the other or being raised one way or another. They have that mixed experience. And then also, I'm 25, I'm about to be 26. Black men were not interested in me until this year.
No, Lord.
Black men always told me I was too
Girl,
whitewashed.
stop.
So it's not that I wasn't interested.
No.
In my experience,
okay,
dating
I'm
black
sorry.
is where I was judged
We gotta
the
look
most.
at her face
I have a
again.
question for you. Which
Please
one
look
of
at this. Okay, because
which
we
way?
have to
Being
really.
raised one way or-
I think it's really important too to analyze the people's reactions when all of this is happening, because you can actually learn a lot.
Another, they have
Let me show
that
you.
mixed experience. And then also, I'm 25, I'm about to be 26. Black men were not interested in me until this year. Black men always told me I was too whitewashed. So it's
Look
not
at
that I
her.
wasn't.
Look at her. She is so over this shit. She's like, girl, like, she's keeping it cute. She's able to keep it demure, but she is so over it. And I would be thinking the exact same thing, because I'm just like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what is happening? Oh Lord, what is going on in the comment section? So let me see. So the woman in the video said, oh, she got married at 20. You know what? Honestly, I may have just missed that. You know, here's the thing. When it comes to who's the most race loyal, I'm not going to really sit here and go back and forth, but I will say that I know that Black women are very race loyal. That's the one thing that I do know. You know, there's obviously going to be a nice little group that is going to date out, but for me, I'm saying that as a demographic, they're race loyal is my general point. Let's see. Yes, happy Black History Month. So, okay, I wanted to really
Interested?
Wait, let me keep going with this.
In my experience,
And you know, she kills me. Okay, so let's really have a conversation about this, okay? So, do we truly believe in our heart of hearts that Black men were not interested in her? Like, on what planet do we think that Black men would not be interested in this woman? Like, it's like that's, and you know, it's funny because look at her. She can barely contain her face, and she's also kind of just like, you know, I'm sorry, I have to just really like just make the screen bigger because I need you all to understand how like she's literally so over this. Like she's like, girl, why? Like, I'm sorry, maybe I'm tripping, but, and yeah, she's literally like about to lose her shit. Like, this is so funny to me. And I just think it's so important because she's not reading the room and they're all just kind of looking at her like, okay, like, all right. But yeah, I don't believe that, there's any planet where Black men would not be interested in her. I mean, obviously, she's very attractive and they don't care if she's whitewashed. Like, you know, so that's already a lie, but let me keep going.
dating Black is where I was judged the most.
And you know what, Lord? And then here's the thing. And okay, this is where, you know what, I'm sorry, we may have lost it. Let me start.
Because they would have had that mixed experience of not feeling like just one race or the other or being raised one way or another. They have that mixed experience. And then also, I'm 25, I'm about to be 26. Black men were not interested in me until this year. Black men always told me I was too whitewashed. So it's not that I wasn't interested. In my experience, dating Black is where I was judged the most.
And it's like, she's talking about Black people are the most judgmental. And this is like really what irks me. Like, you know, it's so frustrating because this is like what I was talking about in my video with Caleb Jackson 00, where I talk about how open and receptive we are as a community to a lot of, you know, biracial people. And then she decides to use her time and her energy and this platform to basically crap on us. And it's so fascinating to me, like how this always plays out. And I just think that we're way too tolerant of this behavior. Like for me personally, like I am so welcoming to any biracial or multiracial person. I don't care if you're here. And in my general experience, I feel like Black people are the same way across the board. So to see her doing this, it's like, hey, like, you know, we don't have to lie to make ourselves feel better. Like, you don't have to pretend like Black men, you know, were horrible to you for as to why you decided to date every single thing under the sun that wasn't Black. And, you know, so for me, I'm just like, it's just so funny how she doesn't really understand how she's really being perceived, and she's about to get a very nice wake-up call. Let's see. I hate these conversations because someone is either lying or not being honest. I agree. It's just like, it's so frustrating because it's like, sure, let's have this honest and open conversation about what's really happening. But it's like, when you do things like this is why people have like a lot of, I don't know what the word is. There's a lot of tension when it comes to these conversations, and people are so quick to jump down each other's throat because it's like, this is just not based in reality. Like what she's saying is not consistent with reality. Love and Lilac says, as a biracial, Black men weren't interested in me. She says, let me eat my food. I know Love and Lilac. Like it sounds ridiculous to me. Decaf Dam says, I don't get it. In Africa/Black families, you can't talk back either. What is she saying? So this is literally where they're about to go. I played a little bit of this in the beginning, so I'm sorry that I keep cutting it off. I'll play the rest I'll play the rest, and then we can kind of go over it.
I have a question for you. Which one of your parents is African American?
My dad.
Okay, I can kind of tell by the way.
I was like, who are you talking about too? I
feel like your ideology could really only come like in the way it came if you have like, like a mother that's not of color, because like in all aspects of like being of color, you don't talk back to
That's what I was saying.
Like,
I would die.
like that. So,
but that's where I also think my experience is interesting, because my dad is full Black, and that's how we to this day talk to each other. We do it with respect, but I am going to argue.
Right, but I'm saying for mothers, a Black mother is not going to let you disrespect her.
I feel
period.
Like it really differentiates if you're like born from the womb of like a woman of color or not. Like it really sets your aspect of like who you are and like how you're treated and like the upbringings, because like you can tell when somebody's upbrought by a Black woman.
But that's also why I said in my experience, that's why I've had a discrepancy because of how I was raised. I feel like, I don't like the comment, I'm gonna be so honest. You were like, oh, I can tell that your mom's white. But it's a little rude. We're both biracial, because you said it with the intent of, like, you said it in a negative way. I do think that came from a place of negativity.
It wasn't negativity, it's more so like, why would you want to disrespect your elders?
I didn't say disrespect necessarily, but I said talk back at each other.
Right, the talk back.
Right.
And I can see how that could seem offensive. Like, and we were actually talking about this out there. I think I asked you, or no, you asked me, and then we said, there is that debate around biracial, and if the mother is white, it's different than if the mother is Black, as far as how the child or how the person values different things.
But I will say this is a perfect example of how I just said it's always the Black community that judges me the most, and you guys.
But you're taking it as judgment. We're saying
that is how it felt. I don't think.
I can't tell you how to feel. I'm just saying that from my experience, and also having girlfriends that are biracial, that have mothers that are white and fathers that are Black, or mothers that are white and fathers that are African, right? There's different experiences. But I will say most of the time what I do see is a very different approach when it comes to core values, family dynamics, and especially when it comes to respect of elders. That's all. I'm not saying it's better or worse.
Were they racist to you, his family?
Yes.
Okay, so you know what? We have to just really unpack that entire back and forth, because she killed me. And this is why it's so challenging to have these conversations sometimes, because people really aren't equipped to actually have them. They want to insert themselves in them, but like I said, they're not able to have them. And it's just like, okay, if you're not able to listen to somebody giving a very, very, in my opinion, valid observation, then why are you here? Because the way I interpret it, and I can understand to an extent like why she may have thought it was offensive, but from my experience, I'm like, okay, white women in general have a very specific level of socialization, and even within the beginning of the video that I kind of showed you, you get to see the woman on the left be completely oblivious to what code switching is. I mean, throughout the video, which you should watch, she has most of them have no understanding of what race is, or no concept of what race is. And so, they're socialized completely different, because there's far less, implications and far less complications in regards to being white. So it's like, it's interesting to me how I just got sidetracked because I was looking at these comments, Lord. I was on such a roll too, Lord. I cannot believe I just forgot where I was going with this. Oh no, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I'm back now. I'm sorry, forgive me. It's harder than it looks, because you're not just talking. I mean, you're also having to work with the stream as well. But yeah, I just think it's funny, because it's like, if she understood, like, or had a general understanding of like race, then she would have picked up on that immediately, because white women are socialized to be oblivious. And I think that was proven very quickly within the start of the conversation, when the Black and the biracial women are like constantly having to educate them. And, I'm not going to play the entire thing, because I want you all to watch this on your own. It's very informative, but like, the majority of the video is like them educating them. So it's funny to me that like, she just didn't understand what she was saying in that moment and how quickly she got triggered. Like you could tell it was a hot button. And I think that, she probably has seen that online discourse, because I do know there's an online discourse around how biracial people with black mothers and biracial people with white mothers are different. And, I'm not going to sit here and stereotype, but I have noticed that there is a little bit of a difference, not all, but I will say that I have noticed in terms of socialization, like you can tell sometimes when that white woman pathology comes through, because it's very distinct, and you'll see it throughout a little bit more throughout this conversation. Let me go ahead and read some more of the comments. Love and Lilac says, girl sounds like she was mad her Korean boyfriend wouldn't call his parents by their first name. Lord, you are too much. Scotty Saturn says, immediately jump to being judged. It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, if that's really like what the energy is giving, then I mean, you more than likely need to probably just like not be here, in my opinion, because you're not equipped to have this kind of conversation. Kento says she's coming from a place of hate. I agree with you. It's like, I'm sorry, like, if she was really open and receptive to having a conversation with people, your immediate reaction wouldn't be like, I think it's coming from this place and X, Y, and Z. Like, that's just how I'm interpreting it. I could be wrong, but it's just like, I didn't enjoy her reaction. Scotty Saturn says it's also like a state of resentment because they are outside of the club of the black community. Scotty Saturn says she's mad that she can't even see the things that black and mixed people are in touch with themselves and their people can see. Yeah, I definitely think in that moment, like she felt, ostracized, like something happened and she was like, oh shit, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm confused. And, even within the context of having biracial women there, like she was still being ostracized. And, she's, I'm sure she thought when she had these other biracial women sitting next to her that she was, she can have at least 2 girls to back her up. But now they're differentiating themselves from her. And I think it just really goes to show, not only how socialization of different races work, but how different socialization is amongst people with, a black mom and a white mom, or, a black dad and a white dad, or hell, we can even throw in other, ethnicities like an Asian mom and an Asian dad. There's so many different layers to it, and I think that when we lump each other all into one category, it's a little bit dangerous because there are so many different elements present within being socialized. But let me read this final comment. Kevin says that girl got too much dip on her chip. Yeah, she need to figure it out quickly because I'm not feeling it.
Because I was not the race that they were. I wasn't Korean, and then I wasn't Persian, so it was a problem.
Do you notice a difference with, I don't know if you've dated white men or women or anything like that, but do you notice a difference, any of you who have dated like people who are white or other races or ethnicities, where like the family structure, like going to dinners with parents or meeting parents or anything like that, where it's worse off if you're dating a white person and their family is white, or depending on where they are, I'm sure the South is completely different than other regions, but do you notice, like, you mentioned like the Korean family or the Persian family was like very racist to you because you're not Persian or Korean and you're, a black woman. Do you notice that's different for like white families dating or like Persian families, Korean families? Like,
I haven't had a white boyfriend. I have dated white men before though. And in my experience, if anything, they might make a comment on like the whole, oh, you're so articulate, but I'm used to that one. If I'm being honest, I am articulate. Like I was a communications major. However, like I've said, when I've dated black, I'm judged more, just like kind of how I feel right now, honestly. Like I'm a little frustrated.
Lord,
whereas white people have always been very accepting of me. And my white family has always been very accepting of me. So, and never
okay.
been. Yeah,
do you guys feel the same?
Comments. But again, I know everyone's different.
I've dated white. When I dated like an American white boy, it was a little odd because the parents were nice. Like the mom was nice, but the dad, he was just odd, and would say weird things, and he said the N-word, hard R, and while with me in the room, and I was like, okay, this strike one, I'm about to get out of here.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, and it's just, the dynamics with them were weird. Like he Like the boy, he was really like close with the parents, and like he would like still act like he was a child with them, and like, oh, I need this, and they would be like, sure, you know what I mean? Like if I did that with my mama, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't gonna happen. She would be like, figure it out, and my dad would be like, figure it out, you know what I'm saying? So it was just a different dynamic. But then I was like, let me try like, you know, like a sub-white, like, you know what I'm saying? Like a European, you know, something. So I tried like a Russian Armenian, and I thought that, so I thought that was gonna be something different, you know? And that was kind of the same. It was more of like a, you know, they had like this type of fetish, you know, for black women, and but this guy, his parents didn't want him to be with a black person. So he had a child with a black Latina before, and I think when he had the child, the mom said, well, what if she looks like the mom? And he was like, what do you mean, what if she looks like the mom? And she's like, was he gonna be dark like the mom? And so I was like, wait a second, I was like, now you're telling me that? I don't wanna even be with you because that girl is a lot lighter than me. You gonna have a real black child if you have one with me. That mama really ain't gonna like that because I feel like my genes are strong, my baby gonna be black. So, because you know, his daughter, you can't even tell that his daughter is black at all. You know what I'm saying? She kinda look like you. You know what I'm saying? Just dark hair, light, you know, skin. You can't even tell, you know? So, but I feel like if he had a child with me, you would definitely tell. So I don't know, it's just really odd, you know what I mean? Because some parents, they don't want no dark nothing, and they say you gotta keep it light and right. You know what I mean?
I'm curious.
You know, and it's just so funny because when you contrast what she's saying to what the girl in the middle is saying, it's just so funny because she's talking about how accepting white people are, whereas this woman is over here stating that her parents' significant others are worried about the child being dark. And it's kind of funny because I remember the story about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle when they were worried about the child's skin color coming out too dark. And so it's like when they come online and they say these things about how white people are the most accepting or, you know, X, Y, and Z, it's really just kind of like, it really just showcases a certain level of delusion and how disconnected they are from reality, because the average white person is not accepting of black dating or interracial dating. And that's a large part of why they are one of the most race loyal groups on the planet. I mean, so it's like if they were as open as you would say they are, like, wouldn't it make more sense for there to be far more interracial relationships? But it just makes absolutely no sense to me, and I can't do it. Let me take a look and see what's going on. She immediately defended the white man. I'm like, girl, exactly. I'm like, she immediately defended the white man. And I'm just like, what on earth is happening? Like, you can really tell that she's being very, like, the white mother played a very, very prominent role in her upbringing and was very dominant in the relationship. You can tell, like, her black parent or her black dad really does not seem to have much influence over her life. Because if he did, I genuinely think that she would have a little bit more self-awareness. Let me take a look and see. Dekfa Dam says, ma'am, you already said that. I know she's just repeating herself. She's just trying to get a reaction out of somebody. Young Play, get into the day. Oh, $4.99. Oh my gosh. What? This is my first super chat. Oh my God. Like, what? We have to really take a moment. Let me screenshot this. Wow. Okay, let me go ahead and read this because I am blown away that anybody would give me a super chat. First and foremost, I have to literally stop the stream because, I mean, the way that you all have been so supportive to me is just so, it blows me away. Like, whether it's $1, $5, first and foremost, I wasn't even aware that that was a possibility. But, I mean, thank you so much for doing that because I'm just literally so honored. Young Play getting into Day Doe says, just stopping by while I'm out and about. LOL, love your channel. We'll be watching the replay. Thank you so much. I'll keep the replay up. I really, really do appreciate that. That is so nice, and I am just so blown away. Oh wow, that's a milestone. Wow. Scotty Saturn says, black people said I talk white and proper in the 5th grade and I can't let it go. Exactly. A lot of the times they're holding on to this unresolved trauma from, you know, some very, very insignificant moment that happened within their lives when they were younger. And, you know, that's just so unfair because, I mean, most of the time, these people who are in middle school or in high school, they just don't know better. You know, they're just children and they're growing up in a world that is filled with anti-blackness. And was I out here sitting here saying these things? No, I wasn't. I'm going to be very honest with you. I mean, Lord, I can't speak. May I have said some ignorant things? Yeah, no one is exempt from being anti-Black, but I don't know if I was sitting here like saying anything crazy like that. But I just think in general to like really hold on to that level of resentment is crazy to me. And that's definitely what is giving. So let's keep going.
How do those conversations go? Like, is it like you pull your partner aside and be like, this shit has to stop or I'm gone? Or is it like, because I had an ex who was the half Costa Rican, half Black guy, where his mom really hated me. I could not tell you why. I really could not tell you why. But I remember some choice comments about, like hearing conversations between her and her son, where I'm standing in the room, by the way, very similar scenario where it's like, oh, I wish you would just go find you a nice Black girl. And like in front of me, where I had always been respectful, like I had always, brought her cookies, brought her stuff, tried to have like a good relationship there. But it eventually, I think, we had to have a conversation where I was like, look, I respect your mom. I respect the relationship. I get where she's coming from. But this is not, like, you're my partner first, in a sense. Like, how did that go? Like, having that conversation? Did you have that conversation, or was it?
Okay, I'm not going to drag it, but like, I hate the way that she's misconflating what's happening. Like, it's not the same situation. Someone Black having a conversation with their child about having reservations with them dating someone white is not the same as, someone white having reservations about their child dating Black because they're racist. Like, those are two entirely different things. And I was just like, I get where you try to connect it, but it's just not. And it's like, I just don't understand how she tried to make that connection. I don't, but we'll keep going.
No, it was just more like, with me, I like to just subtly get out. But I did have that talk. Like once he said that, I was like, so you can't have no kid with me? You know what I mean? Like I immediately was like, well, this isn't gonna work. You know what I mean? Like I'm not one to beat around the bush and be like, oh, well, maybe she'll change. Like, no. Like once I hear that, I'm like, I ain't got time to be dealing with none of that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna have somebody hating on my baby and putting hate spirits on my baby and my person. He's like, no, I don't believe in none of that. So, with me, I just kind of like will nip it in the bud. I won't really,
White people also experience racism.
Cool. I think like racial discrimination can happen to anybody. I think the problem is that
we have to really look at that again. And I'm sorry, but like I just need to really. So let's see who raised their hand. Why does she have to think about it? Why is it they like pan the camera like they were afraid to put their hands up? Okay, so she says, so all three of them think white people can experience racism. These two think so. Let's see. And these two, don't think. Okay, so all three of the Black women do not think. And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is just why I say it's so important. In regards to socialization, because this is really like a very clear-cut like answer, and the fact that all three of them are saying yes, it's just kind of just fascinating to me. And I think when people try to minimize how important it is when people are being socialized or the experience they have, walking through society. It's so important because these things really do inform these decisions. And you can just kind of tell based off the way that they're answering these questions. Yeah, Love and Lilac. I can't. She says, lady cookies don't fix racism. I'm like, girl, exactly. She talking about she brought cookies. Like, girl, what? What does that even mean? Anyways.
Cool. I think like racial discrimination can happen to anybody. I think the problem is that usually when white people talk about experiencing racism, it's like a whataboutism when people are talking about racism towards any other group of people. Right? So like obviously a white person can experience prejudice. The issue is like I'm going to experience probably some direct stuff, which I have from.
Let me slow it down a little bit because I don't want anybody to miss what she says. And I realized I had it sped up really fast and she talks really fast.
Cool. I think like racial discrimination can happen to anybody. I think the problem is that usually when white people talk about experiencing racism, it's like a whataboutism when people are talking about racism towards any other group of people. Right? So like obviously a white person can experience prejudice. The issue is like I'm going to experience probably some direct stuff, which I have from like my husband's family to some extent, being white and whatnot. But I'm not going to experience any of this like systemic stuff. Like I said, like I can literally just go like ooh to a cop, even in America, like where your guys' cops are crazy here. I'm Canadian, and so it's like yes, it's just when we're functionally talking about the problem of racism, we all know what we're talking about here, right? If we want to triage these things, any negative comment towards white people is like pretty low on the tier list of societal changes that we need to impart. I think that there's a lot more like systemic issues. So I'd answer like yes, but if you ask me, is it the most important thing in racism that we need to tackle? I would say definitely not.
I grew up going to school, and I was one of the only white people in school. So in that case, it was like, and it was a lot of Spanish speaking, and I didn't speak Spanish. So, and I learned to speak Spanish, and then I realized that I was like, oh, these people don't like me because I don't speak their language. So in situations like that, I feel like there can be racism, like reverse racism, because of that. It's just like you don't fit in. It doesn't make anything wrong. It's just like, you know, you're different than everybody else.
I think there is a distinct difference between racism and prejudice. And so for me, I don't believe that white people really experience racism, but I think they may experience some prejudice. Because racism is based around systems. Systems put in place, by people of power in order to oppress a sect of people. I don't think there's really any systems put in place by government or anything like that, or people of power, to suppress like white people. However, I feel like white people in a space of like where there's around all black people or something like that, they may experience some prejudice, like, that white girl, get her out of here, or something like that. Like that's really whack and that's prejudice. But racism, I don't think it's the same.
I'm having a serious issue.
So before we get into what she says, I really, really love the fact that she decided to clarify this, because this is one of the biggest talking points that I've heard, and it just really irks me. And, you know, I'm sure to the people who follow me, you saw my video on reverse racism with Tachina Arnold. And it's like, you know, people being mean to you, or, you know, someone not liking you, or, you know, X, Y, and Z is not the same as racism. You know, it's like, what institutions have you been rejected from? What systems, and like such as law enforcement, have you been penalized disproportionately by? You know, what educational systems have you been denied from? I don't know if I said that already, but it's like, and then it's just, there's so many different things where even when it comes to like finances or loans or anything like that, like white people are not experiencing racism in that way. And it's never going to be the case. So it's like when they say these things, it really is a false equivalency. And it just irritates me so badly when they try to make that out to be, you know, something that it's not. Because, I mean, you can't just take a word as loaded as racism and then try to flip it on its head. Like, that's not how that works. You know, there's so much history, there's so much context, you know, there's so many systems that really uphold the word. So it's like, you can't just be like, oh, you know, reverse racism. Like, okay, well, point to me where, you know, white people are being jailed at disproportionately higher rates. Point to me where white people are being, you know, disbarred from schools at disproportionately larger rates. Like, you know, give me some examples like that where institutions are actually, you know, affecting your lives. And then we can have this conversation. So it's like, I definitely think like, you know, I don't like the misconflating of the word. And Miss Girl right here in the middle, she's definitely going to get to business. Before I play this, I want to read the comments. So Scotty Saturn says it's based in history and safety and not based in racist eugenics. Let's see. Scotty Saturn says, but it's a jarring difference if you go to a black mom's house and say, why can't you get a black girl, opposed to a white mom saying, I wish you brought a white girl home. She says, like, the black mom / dad has the freedom to say that, but the white mom / dad doesn't. Not reverse racism. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Like, it's not equivalent, you know, and, you know, just again, there's so many, like, especially when you look at the context of American history, it's perfectly understandable for a black parent to be resistant or hesitant, in regards to their child maybe dating someone white. You know, there's so many people who've been killed, murdered, obviously the same thing. But there's so many people who, you know, have been victims at the hands of white people. And I can see why, you know, somebody may be a little resistant. Now, in reverse, there is no reason for a white person to be skeptical. You know, what really do you have to be afraid of? You know, they're not going to be able to yield institutions, or they're not going to be able to yield law enforcement in the way that a white person will. And there's just far less history in regards to that happening. So yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Frilly Creation 8922 says, "Hi Barbie. Hey, how are you? Happy Black History Month." Deck Fadam says, "I was about to say maybe the question needed to specify systemic racism. I think most people would have just said no." You know, I definitely agree. It was a very broad term and it definitely could have been specified. So, you know, Love and Lilac says, "See, I could not be on this because the way I'd be like, okay, y'all ate us, next." Powerful Puff Girl says, "This can turn into a slippery slope where people believe we all experience the same thing, but we do not due to the system of the United States." Exactly. Like we live, there's hundreds of years of systemic oppression that have been placed upon Black people. And I mean, clearly it's still happening. I mean, they're, this administration is going out of its way to erase Black history, to whitewash what happened on plantations. They're firing Black people at alarming rates. There's so many different things that are still affecting us to this day. So it's just like, you know, it's just, yeah, we don't get the opportunity to just pretend like it's not real. So now I'm going to go ahead and play this. I wanted to read the comments because I just didn't want to miss anybody. I have this little chat over here. I know the people that are just coming in are probably just seeing it. Tell me what you all think. I worked really hard on it. I'm going to make some tweaks so it's a little bit more clear and pristine, but I'm just trying to make the channel a little bit higher quality each and every time for you all. So let me know. But let's go ahead and keep playing this because we're almost done, I promise.
With that languaging, right, that's been coming up in the last decade. And reverse racism. I'm like, first of all, look up what the fuck racism is. Oh, I can't cuss on here, sorry.
No one's going into the Abbey and burning it just because some white people are in there. You know what I'm saying? But they'll go into a place where,
because
black people
racism
aren't
is
burning it.
directly related to power. That, prejudice, yes. Absolutely. Discrimination, yes. Racism, no.
I don't think we disagree on like the facts of the matter. Like I agree, white people, especially in America, don't experience like systemic racism. I think it's just a disagreement on terms, like you said. Like
No, because I can't with that, because disagreement on terms for my family, my people, and those that I love, could be life or death. Like we can't intellectualize racism. There's literal life on the line when it comes to racism.
You mean calling like an instance of prejudice racism puts somebody's life on the line? Can you expand on that?
Can I expand on that? Saying right now with what is happening in this country, because a lot of white people, from what I've been told, what I see, what I read, other friends, people that aren't friends, that I speak to about this, with this whole reverse racism thing, when we look at what's going on systematically with affirmative action, all the things, when it comes to silencing ancestors' voices, our history, all of it, that's what's on the line. It literally is around with that they're being racist, so we need to cut out all these books.
Right.
They're being racist, so we need to do that. It's still
no one's
rooted
telling
in the
y'all
system.
can't drink out of a water fountain because y'all smell like wet dog. No offense, but that's y'all's little prejudice that they say about y'all. But no one's telling you, oh, they can't, do this. Oh, we're gonna go burn up their partying place just because they're white. Like no one's doing that to y'all. No one has ever done that to y'all. No one has ever said we're gonna go and tear up their whole town because these white people have a town and they got banks and they're making money. We're gonna go burn that. Like no one's done that to y'all. Y'all still got banks and stuff.
Language is powerful.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Language is very, very powerful. And when we start to put racism in the same terminology as discrimination, as discrimination, and we group it all together, it really gets dangerous.
We don't want to dilute the meaning of racism. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like we want to group those three words together, prejudice and discrimination and racism. Like to try to group those words together to mean the same thing dilutes the racism that Black people have experienced for so many years. And that's definitely what we don't want, because when you look at how Black people experienced racism for so many years, that meant life. That meant life. You know what I mean? Like for sure. But like what a lot of white people are claiming as racism, their life isn't really on the line. It's hurt feelings. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, they're writing in books about how white people did this, and that's just hurt feelings. Nobody's life is on the line.
Based on what I said initially, do you think I disagree with you guys on anything?
I don't remember what you said initially.
Okay.
I remember what you said. I do think that I don't disagree with what you said with respect to these two things being different, but what you said originally kind of made it sound like you were putting them in the same box.
Right. The way you answered the question, right, was, are you cool? I'm just tapping on, okay, because you don't seem cool.
Oh.
The question was, and you agreed with it, that people can be racist towards white people. Yeah. And then you answered by saying about discrimination.
I talked about direct versus like systemic and systematic racism.
She also noted at the end, I don't know if you guys remember this, she said on basically the totem pole of what's like issues we need to focus on, racism towards white people is at the very bottom. And she also, I feel like you made it clear when you were saying it's more so little snide comments. Like it's things my mom experienced, snowflake from the black side of my family, things like that versus like what you're describing as systemic. Yeah.
To me, what you described was prejudice.
So, okay, we got to break that down. So, and honestly, we might have to just like repeat it or not repeat it, but just kind of like maybe go through some of the stills because I think
The meaning of race.
so. Okay, I think I really, really appreciated this part a lot because, I think that, it's not something that we should just agree to disagree on. Like there is, the term racism is very powerful. And as she said before, there's been so much death and so many systemic issues behind it that it's not the same as just like, oh, like someone just doesn't like you because they don't like you. Like, there's actual power and like actual action behind what's happening. And so it's like, it's not the same again as just like, oh, well, I don't agree. Like, no, this is more so like, well, you're black. I'm going to go ahead and take away your opportunities for schooling. I'm going to go ahead and incarcerate you. I'm going to make it harder for you to do basic things in life. And so it's like, I think that, I understand why they were so passionate about not just backing down about that point because, as she said before in the beginning, she said racism is power and reducing it down to just like, hurt feelings or someone just like not liking you is just kind of just like ridiculous to me. So I definitely love the fact that they were not willing to back down on that. And I think that a lot of the times, a lot of people don't have the verbiage to really kind of respond because I'm not going to lie to you, Miss Girl over here, she was asking some really kind of on point questions and most people would have gotten choked up in that response when she said to actually like ask and provide real world examples. But she really, really stood strong and she held her point. And I definitely like how these two, they really, really drove the point home. And, I think they did a great job. I will say, though, it's funny because when you look at their reactions, I'm going to mute. When you look at their reactions, it's kind of funny to see, wait, before one thing I'm going to say, because this gets brought up a little bit later and it's important. So I want to really mention it. Well, you know what? Well, I'm thinking... Now, I'll bring it up later. I just think it's really funny, though, to kind of look at her body language because you could tell, like, she was definitely... I was like, oh, no, she did not ask her if she was cool. Like, she really, really kind of just got in her ass. And I was like, oh, God. Like, but, it was funny. Like, she really was kind of eating the girls up. And I was like, look at her body language. Like, I wish I could... Let me see. I think it was... I have to go to it because her reaction, it just, I don't know. And, I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend like she wasn't getting a little bit excited because she was. She started cursing and she started kind of bobbing her head a little bit. But, like, it was just funny to see how quickly she leaned into her white fragility. She definitely felt a certain type of way later in the video. But for some reason, I cannot get to the part. Like, it is, like, making it really difficult for me to, like, get to it. So we may just have to skip forward at this point. Oh, here it is. I think so. Language, if you can go back. I would hate... Kevon said she was not advertising, pushing these kinds of conversations. Pushing these kinds of conversations. When I was in high school, have a good understanding of like these general concepts. Kento says, got me yelling at 2 a.m., but I'm so glad those 3 ladies were able to articulate my thoughts. Scotty says, like some here's the thing, like she's trying to sit here and justify what she's saying. I'm like, no, she made it very clear. She tried to lump the two into one category. She said that it's lower on the totem pole of racism. No, it's not.
I'm in the same box.
Right. The way you answered the question, right, was, are you cool? I'm just tapping on, okay, because you don't seem cool. The question was, and you agreed with it, that people can be racist.
You know what? And look at her expression too. You can tell right here, this was the moment that she was like, I gotta just put on my cape for this white lady. Like, she was looking at her like, look at that. She was like, really? Oh, I'm just like, I cannot get over it.
You agreed with it. That
and her face is killing me
people
too.
Can be racist towards white people. And then you answered by saying about discrimination.
I talked about direct versus like systemic and systematic racism.
She also noted at the end, I don't know if you guys remember this, she said on basically the totem pole of what's like issues we need to focus on, racism towards white people is at the very bottom. And she also, I feel like you made it clear when you were saying it's more so little snide comments. Like it's things my mom experienced, snowflake from the black side of my family, things like that versus like what you're describing as systemic. Yeah.
To me, what you described was prejudice. I just was like, oh, she just don't know that she's talking about prejudice.
That's totally fine. Yeah. That's totally fine. I just want to be clear. Ideologically, I'm with you. Like when it comes to systematic and systemic racism, obviously white people are not experiencing this the way that black people are, or the way that any person of color. Right? When I said racism, I mostly meant it in like, I guess like the old Oxford, which is just like discriminating to somebody in any way based on like their race, which can include snide comments. But yeah, I agree. It's not even close to in the scale. That's why I said on a rank of things that matter here, white racism doesn't matter.
What I'm saying is there's no such thing as white racism.
I feel like there is such thing as racism towards white people. And I'm just going to use like an example as in if somebody passes away who is white, I can see like I've had colleagues around me like, oh, it doesn't matter, he was white, he was piece of da-da-da, like it doesn't matter because like the things he would say about black people. So even though he was a racist individual, do I think that it's okay that he died because he was racist? No, now you're just being racist. So 2 wrongs don't make a right.
So that's not racism. Like, I love the fact that she tried, and, we're going to have to ding her. We're going to have to take her down. She loses some points for me for that one. That's literally not racism. Like, again, like we talked about, like, it has to be from a systemic level. Like, what power are they using to enact it on a person's life? It's like, again, saying that someone deserves to die is not racism. Like, and the thing is I kind of want to reiterate, someone white saying that a black person deserves to die is also not racism. It's more so when we start using our actual, like, our positions of power and privilege to enact like actual harm onto another person. So it's like someone just not liking you or just wanting you to die is not racism. Now, again, if they want you to die because you were black, no, yes, that is racism. But it's like, I feel like they're just not understanding. They use it, like, they just don't understand it. Like, they just like interchange these concepts, and it's like, it kills me. I can't do it. I can't. And it's like, I'm confusing myself trying to make sense of what they're saying at this point. And she over here, like, she is not feeling it. Like, she's like, what are you saying? Yeah, Love and Lilac says, huh? Love and Lilac also says, I feel like the biracial girl is looking over to the white women and seeing her mother and will literally defend her because of it. I agree. A monoracial black person literally cannot do that. I completely agree. Let's see. I cannot read this. My eyes are... Y'all, I'm getting old. I'm 29. Give me a minute. I gotta look at this. Let's see. Kayvon says, this doesn't make any sense. She is clueless. Why are there some people's posts not showing up in here? Anyways, let me keep going because I promise we're almost done.
Yeah, I guess we get to just agree to disagree on the term of what racism really is.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to use whatever language. That's when I say racism, that's just all I meant. But if you want to call it prejudice, that's fine. Then I'd say yeah, white people experience prejudice, but according to how you're defining racism, white people don't experience that. Yeah.
I just do have to add, though, because you started making a good point I wanted to say, but I wasn't trying to get everyone pissed off. I love history. historically, not now, I'm not saying in this day and age, but historically, different groups of white people were discriminated against. When the Italians started coming over, they were called slurs. When the Irish came over, they were called slurs.
They weren't white then.
Way back, and when that's what I'm saying, the definition of white was different, but they were white.
Do you know why the definition of white was constructed?
Go ahead and tell me.
No, I want you to tell me.
No, because okay, first of all, I feel like you can be a little nicer because you're kind of coming at everyone.
I'm being direct, honey.
You're just, but your energy is just a little bit rude when we're coming in here to have a discussion.
I'm being direct.
You tell me why. I don't know why the definition of whiteness was changed, and you're being condescending.
Honey.
So go ahead and tell me. Tell me.
So when you're talking about Italians, other people that are considered white now being discriminated, you okay?
No, she's not. She's not.
I know she's not.
I don't like that, because I could tell even with the first comment before how your voice was already starting to get shaky. I know that you're already triggered. I know you don't feel great about everything in this conversation, but I don't want you to feel attacked.
I don't feel supported by these two ladies. You guys have been nothing but great, genuinely.
You don't feel supported by us because of what we said about the difference between having a white mother and a black mother?
I think you guys were differentiating yourselves from me being biracial because you guys have black mothers and I do not. And you were making negative comments about the fact that my mom was white. Oh, I can tell. That has an underlying connotation from it.
We were saying based on what you shared about how you spoke to your family.
And based on how you shared that, you thought it was weird that your boyfriends of a different ethnicity's parents demanded respect, which
no, you misunderstood what I said. You did misunderstand what I said because
So then why don't you reiterate yourself?
I'm trying to and you're interrupting me. I'm trying to and you're interrupting me.
No, but you tried to 3 times. You said the same thing over again.
When I brought up the issue with my first boyfriend being Korean and the culture of respecting your elders, what I brought up was, yes, I came from a culture of where my family and I could have dialogue back and forth, and I didn't realize that was different until I dated someone from a different race. However, in that specific context, it was to the point where his family was disrespecting me because I was black, but because his culture tells you to respect your elders, he let his family walk all over me and be racist and be disrespectful. That's what I was talking about. I never said I disrespected
that's not okay
them.
That his family did that to you, but what I'm saying is that it's very much the same in black communities, and it's unfair with black communities too. And I know many people who get walked all over from their black parents because they can't do anything. They get hit, they get beat. It's normalized.
I sometimes wish I was a different race.
I think it would just be easier to just be full black or be full white. Because genuinely, as I just mentioned, it is hard being biracial because I just don't feel like I fit in with one or the other group. And it sucks because I've brought up how specifically in the black community, this is not the first video I've been on where I've talked about this. It's always the black community that is more judgmental towards me. And so that's why it's just if I could just be one or the other, I wouldn't have to keep having a weird mixed experience where one group doesn't accept me and the other one doesn't either. So honestly, I love who I am, but I hate how I'm treated by others because of my race.
Okay, so I really want to point out a few things that just irritated me about this, because I think that this entire moment sums up exactly what I'm talking about. And I wanted to just kind of us go through all of this before I really decided to really drive it home. So I think what's really interesting about this moment is that so she's being attacked by 2 biracial women, yet she is saying that the black community is the most unwelcoming. And I think what I find really interesting is that in that moment, the only person who comes to her defense is the black woman. And it's it really just speaks volumes to just how society is set up. And I almost kind of wish she didn't come to her defense, because it's just it's no matter what we end up doing, and I'm sure this has happened so many times where I'm sure someone black has come to her defense and she just decided that she doesn't care, or she's going to try and overlook it. And it's just it's just so funny to me, because like I said, when she came to her defense, where is that moment? I thought that really spoke volumes to
different, and I don't think there's a point in wishing I had
wait one
different
second.
genetics.
Let me try and
Me,
go.
you know,
I'm trying to get it because like I'm so upset that I lost it.
And it sucks because I've brought up how specifically in the Black community, this is not the first video I've been on where I've talked about this, and it's so easier to just
from their
Where
black
is it?
Till I,
which
no, you misunderstood.
I should have like gotten the timestamp. I'm so
White
upset.
now.
I'm so upset. I wish that I had the timestamp. Okay, well, you know what? I don't want to keep going backwards, so we're gonna have to just not go backwards. I literally need to get better at practicing this, but I really do. I hate the fact that she came. I'm talking about this woman right here. I hate the fact that she came to her defense because it really is indicative to how a lot of these situations play out, where it's like, you know, again, she centers herself, she makes an ass of herself, and then someone Black has to come to her rescue and like, you know, is really kind of coddling her. And it's really kind of irritating to see how these things play out. And I wish in that moment, maybe she would have taken back what she has said, because it's like, these are the two people attacking you are not the Black women. And it's like, it's just so funny to me again, because the white women as well, they said nothing. Like, they didn't speak up to her defense. They didn't come to her defense. You know, each and every time they chewed her up, like they just kind of like let it happen. The only real time someone decided to actually kind of like, you know, speak up was again this woman. And I'm just like, it's just sad to see like, you know, how we put ourselves or we overextend ourselves in these situations. And then, you know, we still end up being blamed as the bad guy. And it's just unfortunate. I'm really trying to see.
Me, you know, I like my skin tone. I like.
Okay, I don't know. I think it may have been a part of this part. I'm so upset that I can't find it. I am determined to find this. I'm sorry. I know it was like right over here. Okay, well, we're gonna have to give up. I give up. Because I don't want to get too sidetracked. Let me see what the comments are saying. Yeah, she's weaponizing and playing the victim. Kayvon says she went from being rude to being the victim in 2.5 seconds. I agree. Deck Daff Dam says, I think that lady wanted to laugh. I agree as well. She says there's no tears coming from her eyes. She made me mad with that. Why is that? Why is she taking up for that girl? I agree. It's so irritating, and I'm just like, you know, I understand why she did it, but in that moment, I would have stayed silent. Like, you're going to keep crapping on Black people? Because she said it 3 to 4 times. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't jump to her defense. I mean, ultimately, she did prove her wrong. And I think, again, she shows the grace that a lot of Black women exhibit when it comes to these conversations. But still, I'm like, girl, I can't with it. All right, we need to close this out. So we're going to get to this.
Tell me.
So we're gonna close this out.
I like the maybe the one.
Because yeah, Black people can be judgmental sometimes.
Oh,
it's just like if I'm on where I've talked here to just be full Black or be full white, because genuinely
from their Black parents because they can't do anything. They get hit, they get beat. It's normalized.
I sometimes wish I was a different race.
okay. Look at this. Everybody else but her has said that they would not want to be a different race. And I'm telling you, it's like, again, I hate stereotypes, but there really is a pathology that a lot of people with white mothers exhibit. Like, there is just this victimology that, like, I mean, cannot be overlooked. They are so exhausting sometimes. And again, I'm not saying all, but I'm just like, I mean, I think that these two made a very valid observation. Like, you can tell immediately the way that she's carrying herself that there is like some very Karen-like behavior, because a lot of the times when white women are in the presence of the Black community, there is just like this extreme level of entitlement, and you can tell, like, you know, sometimes come out in their children. And I just, you know, again, I cannot do it. So we're gonna finish out strong.
I think it would just be easier to just be full Black or be full white. Because genuinely, as I just mentioned, like, it is hard being biracial because I just don't feel like I fit in with one or the other group. And it sucks because I've brought up how, specifically in the Black community, this is not the first video I've been on where I've talked about this. It's always the Black community that is more judgmental towards me. And so that's why it's just like, if I could just be one or the other, I wouldn't have to keep having a weird mixed experience where one group doesn't accept me and the other one doesn't either.
Lord.
So like, honestly, I love who I am, but I hate how I'm treated by others because of my race, like truly. Like, and I hate like the snide comments based on like, oh, your mom's white, can tell. Like, it just really, it sucks because I am who I am. I'm a mix of both. I'm not just one or the other. But that makes it hard because I think in this day and age, people want you, it's black or white. Like, people want you to just be in one box. So
I don't believe that I'm all Black. I mean, as a Black American, I'm mixed up anyway.
Oh,
so
Lord.
I feel bad that people judge you. I'm really sorry about that because, yeah, Black people can be judgmental sometimes. You know what I mean?
And then...
But you kind of have to realize that, like, the Black people that are judging you ain't all Black either. So you can kind of push on them and be like, hey, you biracial too? Because Thomas Jefferson is your great-great-great-great-great-granddad. So, you know, sometimes you got to just push it back and flip it back on them. And I don't know, I was just trying to make you laugh.
And I think with age, right?
Okay, and you know, again, this is just what was frustrating me because, I mean, not only is the woman on the left coddling, I mean, she's consoling her. Now you have her reaffirming this nonsense. Like, no, you don't need to sit here and make this or try to back this woman's ridiculous claims up. It's like you should just sit there silently and just let her cry, because it's like at that point, you know, it's just, this is ridiculous. Like, I mean, she's sitting here just pushing out stereotypes, and it's like y'all are doing nothing but showing her kindness. I mean, and she's still in your face, I mean, just crapping on you. And it's like, I mean, in my opinion, that she should have had far more smoke for the biracial woman than she should have had for the Black woman, because it's just like, I mean, this is just insulting to me. And I despise how every single one of these conversations plays out. Okay, I promise we're almost done.
Make you laugh.
And I think with age, right? I'm like twice your age. And I remember feeling that, not the same way, but definitely, you know, getting bullied by Black girls at school, getting fetishized by white boys at school, all the different things. And it is painful. And I think the sense of belonging is what can feel really painful. Not feeling like you're accepted in either side. But I think with age, you just start to not really give any fucks. And you start to really come into your own about what you believe about yourself, when you start to even deconstruct ways that were conditioned into you to see yourself or how others see you. And it does get better.
And I'd also like to publicly apologize for my comment, you know, making you feel some sort of way, because that was not how it was supposed to come off. You know, like, my best friend's mom is white, and like, we joke about it all the time how there's like a really big difference. I didn't mean for like that. I just meant for as in like, Black moms are super sometimes stereotypical, like when it comes to raising their kids. And it wasn't as in like, you're less than because your mom's white. I would never say that to anybody, and I'd never want to make anybody feel like that.
Well, I in no way ever wanted to be anything other than a Black woman. I mean, sometimes.
So, you know, I can't keep going because I want you all to watch this, but
to see like how
I want to play one more part out because I
Different
think
types
it's
of
important.
biracial, different types of.
Because I really want you all to hear this final part. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments, Lord. Lord, why I missed the comments? Okay, I promise. I'm gonna read these comments and then we're gonna close it out. The white lady said something that just kind of really irritated like the hell out of me, and I just wanted to kind of read it off to you all just to like drive one of my points home. She says, let's see, she made me mad with that. Why is she taking up for that girl? She says, let's see, another one. I'm afraid to know the comments of this video. Yeah, maybe we should go down the comments of the video after this. Kevon says, cry me a river. I agree. She is just literally ridiculous. She said, why she say that? I know most of the comments are just like in confusion as to why she's doing this. Varia Violet says, in this day and age, Delulu, when the one drop rule is less of a thing. Let's see. Love and Lilac said, the apologies are pissing me off. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, and again, this is what I'm talking about in regards to socialization. Like, it's so interesting to see how Black people are always the ones who are the ones that are acquiescing, and the ones apologizing and the ones coming to people's rescue. But despite this, we're the ones being villainized, you know, despite all of this. So it's just really, really interesting. And I just think seeing it all play out in real time is just really fascinating. Let's see. Where is that? I want to play this last part.
Want to separate the terms.
Direct, and my white
think you understand our struggle to a point where.
And I'm like, oh my God, like that's what he was feeling, you know?
Okay. Here's the final
And I think these kind of
piece.
conversations are so super important. I think that.
Oh, wait. No, here it is.
I think I feel a little bit still confused.
Okay, here it is. Okay,
There's a lot that I'm
because so here it is. This is the part because I wanted to really bring it up, like them correcting her and how it really had her feeling a certain type of way. She brings it back up, and I just really want to just like highlight like this is how it is when you try to correct a lot of white people. When it comes to just like basic things like terminology that they use, and that's why you don't really see these conversations happen often because most of them are just really sensitive about this and just like easily offended.
Yeah.
Questions.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think this conversation was hard. I tried to be like as honest as possible. I think I feel a little bit still confused as to why people like jump down my throat so hard when it's like pretty evidential. I agree with everything you're saying. It's a word that you prefer that I didn't use. And it's totally fine for you to be like, actually, we prefer when you use this. That's totally fine. I'm like open to that. But it was very telling to me of being like, I don't think you guys even heard what I said, which really like sucks. And it's hard to even like bring this up as a white woman being like, I don't think that my experiences even begin to equate yours. I don't think I don't. But I guess like as a person to person, that was confusing. And for me, I think a little bit disappointing. Because I think that these conversations have to happen, and they're really important to happen. But I appreciate you guys being like honest with me and answering my questions.
I like the conversation. I didn't like, it's like you become aware of things or you like see things, but then you don't really get them. And then when you're talking to somebody, you're like, oh, okay. Like, and I think it's very helpful for us and for the people watching to see it, because I know a lot of people at home that may look like me or may look like you guys also have the same questions, you know? So I think it's so important that we're in a video like this. And, you know, honestly, like it really made me think a lot about like mixed kids, because my ex was half Chinese and half white. And he would always say to me, like, he was always having such issues with like not being accepted by his father's family and then not being accepted by his mother's family. So like I totally kind of, you know, I see, you know, how there are so many issues, and like, you know, people don't really understand them until like you hear these stories and you get emotional and it makes you feel emotional. So you know, I'm sorry this happened, but you know, it helped me kind of like see that more. It made me think of him, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's what he was feeling, you know? I don't know.
And I think these kind of conversations are so super important. I think that none of us really completely understand what another race or mixed races are experience every day, you know? And so I think that all of your questions like really bring to light, like, gosh, how curious you really are. Like, gosh, how do you deal with this? How did you experience this? I think that even like for you and your experience in this conversation, like you kind of felt like we jumped down your throat. I, for the record, didn't try to jump down your throat. I hope it didn't feel that way. I understood your heart behind everything you said. I didn't think your heart was in a negative space at all. I think you understand our struggle to a point where it's just like, yeah, I know my struggle ain't like yours. It was just a word, that's all. So please don't walk away from this feeling any negative feelings like about like me, you know what I mean, or any of us, because I don't think that's what was meant. I think those of us who experience racism just want to separate the terms and for society as a whole to get used to separating the terms. And I think that's all. But I'm grateful for everybody in this circle, because I feel like everybody has really brought a lot of light to a lot of different kinds of experiences.
So, you know, that moment really just kind of irritated me. And it's just like, okay, what are you talking about? Like, no one jumped down your throat. And it's just, this is what I'm saying. Like, there's a certain way that white women carry themselves. And when certain things happen to them, like, they're not, like, they have this way of victimizing themselves. And I think that it's just really interesting, again, to see how the girl in the middle just, like, kind of failed to understand what they were meaning by just, like, kind of like how white women are socialized differently. And I think it's because of, like, you know, ultimately a big part of why she doesn't understand is because she relates so heavily to a lot of white women. And it just kind of, like, again, reminds me of the Caleb video that I did. If you have the opportunity to go watch, you definitely should. And it just, I think a big part of why they empathize so heavily with white people is I think that they see themselves heavily in them, and they have, like, very similar ideologies, because it was just so funny to see her immediately jump to her defense as well. And it's just like, you know, I just think this woman, I'm like, all right, you know, I did like her to some extent, but I'm like, all right, you just kind of irked me with that. Like, I don't want to hear about how you're talking about how people jump down your throat. That's not what happened. And I think that's a mischaracterization of what happened. Let me see. She says, who is not so erudite? I don't know who that is. Love and Lilac says these conversations need to happen. Does she think that Black people have never discussed being oppressed? OMG, alt-right white woman on the panel. Lord, I butchered that sentence. The girl with the braids has not said anything the entire time. Let me tell you, she literally gives nothing. She says like 2 things. It kills me. But so yeah, that's about the basis of it. I think that I'm gonna stop it here. I'm actually kind of blown away with how long this live stream is. The last one was like an hour and 30 minutes, which is kind of shocking to me. I definitely need to shorten them. But I'm just enjoying myself, and it's just fun being able to like chit chat with you all and hear what you think about these things. So, I really am just like so blown away that some of you all have like stayed with me this entire time. It's really been fun being able to watch, and just like react to this. What did you all think about it? Did you all enjoy it? Would you see yourself like watching more of these? Like, what are we feeling? I definitely like these a lot. I think that it was a great learning experience for me. I think sometimes I get a little bit complacent about these conversations, and being able to just like listen to people speak about things and just like share their perspective, or being able to watch things kind of play out in real time, just kind of like sharpens my mind a little bit and just like reaffirms a lot of the things that I already kind of knew. So, it was a great experience, and I love this show. Dr. Daff show is really, really good. I may go watch some more episodes. Let's see. Powerpuff Girl 7486 says, thank you, Barbie. Thanks, hon. Hopefully you were able to get some knowledge, something interesting. I loved this. Like I said, there are so many interesting themes. One thing as well I wanted to talk about too was code switching. I skipped over a part, and I'm kind of mad at myself, but there's this part that they were talking about in regards to code switching, where one of the women were talking about how she is she thinks about things even on a level or on a subconscious level in regards to what music she may play depending on who is in the car. And I think that is just like another great example of like, how conscious you always have to be when you're Black. Like, you can't play certain types of music. You have to dress a certain type of way. There's certain hairstyles that are, less accepting. And I was just like, I thought that was such a great thing to bring up, because I was like, wow, even music, like just playing music in the car, we're always having to be conscious about, how we come across and being mentally present. So it's definitely something that I've thought about. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to play, who's a good example? I don't know. I live under a rock these days, but I'm not going to play, I don't know. I was going to say Beyonce, but then I was like, white people love Beyonce. But you get my point. I'm not going to play a really popular Black artist that's really raunchy, or, X, Y, and Z in a car filled with white people, because, there's just certain optics that come with that. And you just like, it just creates a certain, what is it? Just like a certain awkwardness or environment that is just not really something that I want to deal with. So I just thought that was a really great point in regards to code switching, and I just really wanted to bring that up before I ended up closing this. Let me see. INFJ_Will says, we definitely need more. Yeah, we definitely do need to do some more. Next time, I'm going to have to bring on some other people. Like, we're going to have other people talk. I'm going to practice doing some group panels, maybe like this weekend, so I can have others come and talk, because I cannot sit here and talk for 2-3 hours straight. Like, I need some back and forth from you all. So definitely be on the lookout. I just really wanted to get like this layout out and like show you all what I've been like working on. So, that was like my main goal for today. But I promise you, we're going to have some people on. And I have so many incredible and smart people that are interested in coming on and talking. So, yeah, we're going to do that. Let me read some of these other comments, and then I'm going to close this. The girl in the middle, she has a leftist slash liberal white channel. I only watched her a few times. Oh, she has a leftist slash liberal YouTube channel. Okay, okay. I need to look her up. She was very on point. I gotta give her flowers. Like, she low-key carried this conversation. I'm not even gonna sit here and say she wasn't a little bit spicy, because she was. But ultimately, like, I understand her point of view. You know, you're gonna come to these conversations, you need to know what you're talking about. Like, don't come on here on a huge platform and then start sprouting nonsense and then expect people to go easy on you. So, you know, she definitely held her own, and I really appreciated her because she pushed back very well on certain subjects, and I need to get her social media and look her up a little bit later. Great, great person. Definitely one of my favorites in the panel. Powerpuff Girl says, I really appreciate these conversations. It really helps to be able to flesh out these conversations further. I agree. I think it was just very informative. Cat Winby says, it was a great stream. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I promise I'm going to make them shorter, and I'm going to be a little bit more concise, but you know, it's a Friday, and like, why not? You know, I don't get the opportunity to come on and really chat with you all often. Like, when I make these videos, they're so impersonal and just like to the point and direct. So being able to come on and just like be a little bit frantic and read the comments and stuff, it's just, I don't know, I like being able to do it. Kyle Holman says, this was a great discussion. Thank you so much, Kyle, for coming, and I just really appreciate you for being here. It really means a lot to me. I'm literally so blown away by how supportive you all have been. This is a long live stream, so you taking your time out to be here means a lot to me. So, you know, again, I'm so grateful to you all, and if there's nothing else, I just had an incredible time, and like I said, we're going to have a panel soon. So if you want to come and talk, let me know, because I'm definitely ready. And I want to hear what you all have to say. I want to hear more from the people that follow this channel. And I think it will be fun to really unpack some of these discussions. So, alrighty. I am going to go ahead and get off of here. I need to go ahead and make this Black History Month video. I've got some colorists and racists to deal with as well over the weekend. So, you know, be on the lookout for that on Twitter. But okay, I hope you all enjoy your day. And, you know, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and